What's going on, everyone? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and you are here for another Facts Project podcast. Today, very special guest, Brian Wickman. We are here to talk about Grit Volume 1 for Mad Cave Studios. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, to bring this into fruition, this book particularly came out in 2020, and it was a 3-issue series for Scout Comics. And the reemergence of this particular book now with Mad Cave Studios, what essentially basically brought that on?
Yeah, so the book originally came out in 2020, like truly just ahead of all the shops shutting down for
Yeah.
COVID. Like I think the first issue hit in February or March. So we had a weird rocky launch for this title. But yeah, Kevin and I loved working on it, and it was like a book that it was both of our first like long form comic.
Mm-hmm.
So long form, 3 issues, long form compared to the shorts we were doing before that.
Definitely.
Um, but it had like a special place in our hearts. So we wound up getting the rights back a couple years ago, and Kevin had done You've Been Canceled with Mad Cave.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a good working relationship with them, and I had been pitching them on some other stuff. And honestly, I think at one point I just kind of threw out while we were talking about another book that like Kevin and I always had more ideas floating around. We'd like love to talk more about Grit, and then I want to say Mike Martz was really enthusiastic about just doing more with Kevin. So I rode Kevin's coattails on being a fantastic artist and got a
Gotcha.
new lease on life for Grit for a little bit. But yeah, that was kind of it. Everybody at Mad Cave was like enthusiastic about sort of giving it a little bit of a breath of fresh air and getting it back out there. So that's how we wound up doing a little more.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I could tell you a funny story. During 2020, obviously a lot of us were inside. So, for people like me who were consuming comics at a large rate, I got introduced to Grit probably around November of 2020, and I was able to read the first issue, second issue, and I actually passed it on to a friend of mine, who then lost the books and moved away. So it's funny because I usually have like the books already like lined up and everything behind me and whatnot, and I do not have that, and I apologize for that. But I guarantee you, I I've read every single issue because I read the third one digitally, but I had the first two physically, and I actually, because you're a librarian by trade, so I was sharing.
Yeah, well, the good news is you'll have a shiny new copy soon.
Perfect. Perfect. I appreciate that. So now to get into this story, it's inspired with a blend of Southern Gothic influences and of course this classic sword and sorcery fantasy. Of course the title characters Barrow, Old Man Barrow, and Ari, which is it's funny because my daughter's name is Ari. So the witch in the story, Ari, their dynamic is pretty much what sets these 3 issues pretty much apart. Now, much of the book's charm is usually caused by the friction between Old Man Barrow and Ari. Why did you think that their relationship, to begin with, there it was more tension rather than friendship?
So when Kevin and I originally conceived of Grit, it was just a one shot. It was this like one and done, and you can kind of still feel that
Hmm.
that the first issue really stands alone as this sort of quiet, hyper violent thing. um, and then when we decided, working together was cool. We liked working on this book, and we tried to like flesh that out. The
Hmm.
natural thing we wanted to do was like sort of do a foil for Barrow, and like he's so self-assured and like stubborn. And I think introducing another character with those same traits, but then everything else about them is different.
Yep.
You have these like two really stubborn characters, but they exist on opposite ends of this spectrum where he's like this hyper violent Conan the Barbarian type hero.
Yeah.
And she's like, we've described Ari as being like an aggressive pacifist. Like she's such a pacifist that she's mad about it. Um, and I think just like pairing those two sort of weird fantasy tropes, just like creates this really interesting like buddy cop kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
So we really just mashed 10 different genres together, but we wound up with this like, the first issue is funny because it's goopy and messy and goblin butts are kind of funny. And then issues 2 and 3, I feel like, are funny because you have this odd couple pairing.
True. True. And
So it
that,
was really just like a story device of like, what is the opposite of Barrow and what would be the most annoying character to pair him with for him?
right. Right. It's almost Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
The Asian family that lived next door to him annoyed him to be damned, but all of a sudden, like he just falls in love with the characters, and
Uh-huh.
there's the glue of it. Now I
Yeah.
heard or I read on AIPT that the Old Man Barrow character you described from a 2000 movie, The Way of the Gun, James Caan's character.
That's all Kevin.
That was all
Kevin,
Kevin. Okay,
yeah, yeah. And Kevin and I have such a fun working relationship because I'll give him something to work with and then he'll come up with something so much better and then we'll just reverse engineer from that.
got it.
And that's really a big part of both characters where like again, this started as this sort of like pastiche, like play on Conan the Barbarian, and then when he gave me this like blue collar Clint Eastwood looking character, we like dialed up that Southern charm, like to 11, just because that's how it felt when we looked at it. It looked so worn in and like. He just like one look at any panel with Barrow, and he looks like a dude who got home from a tough day at work.
Yeah. Uh,
That's it. That's his entire vibe.
Almost reminded me of, well, there's this one book by Rob Guillory called Farmhand, like of
Yeah.
that particular character that's just like well, obviously the story's called Grit. So
Mhm.
I was gonna say gritty. Now, why did you choose an inspired Southern Gothic influence? As far as like it just being where you're from, you're in Maryland, but
Yeah.
is there sort of like an influence to that story to where it's ironically a lot more rural and a lot more southern just in the settings?
So I live in Baltimore City.
Okay.
So not personally. I do think it's one of those things that just came out of the stories I love all have that kind of lived in world.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like that feeling of there's not a ton of like how do I phrase this? Like, there's not a lot of exposition in the book,
Yeah.
but everything you need to know is communicated like in the backgrounds and the way people are dressed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think Southern Gothic has such a shorthand for tone, just like seeing this sort of dusty world and that every character is caked in dirt and like there's this inherent spookiness to
Yeah.
it. Like there's something eerie about it. Even when we're doing a book that's sort of like over the top and comedic, like it just lends this air of like otherworldliness that's still grounded. It's
Yeah.
like the Star Wars thing of like everything feels dirty, so you're convinced it's real.
The Tatooine effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, even outside of that, when you talk about over the top and comedic, the series features everything from goblin gangs, to even talking birds, occult rituals.
Yeah.
How are you keeping those elements cohesive?
I think honestly, this is again part of that shorthand of like Kevin and I didn't give world building thought in so much as we had a spreadsheet where we're tracking the rules of this world. Like we
Okay.
sort of improv how this works. And like sometimes the joke informed that before anything else, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the opening pages, and this is the thing people have said to me before, and I'm so glad it landed. Like the the like troll job that he gets hired for is that a farmer's mad that the trolls have gone missing
Mm-hmm.
because if they go to the bathroom in the field, stuff grows better. Like the concept of a manure troll.
Fertilizer. Yes.
Yeah, it's a fertilizer troll. It's free. It's free labor.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dumb joke. Like that's a really stupid joke, but like immediately it sells what kind of world this is without having to give you a bunch of blocks of text. Like that sort of like organic like fantasy is silly, and I want fantasy to be silly,
Yeah.
and I think leaning into that just like it helps sell the world, and it like gets a chuckle in the middle of a really gory scene sometimes.
Look,
Like
I agree.
the
I
birds
agree.
were another thing where like there's a joke in like immediately in the second issue. And then Kevin and I just liked it so much that we made it a thing where like the birds became a recurring bit because
Yes,
like it's a cool way to introduce a one-liner with like a character that can literally fly away. That's that.
for sure. For sure. Now, also even just in the aspect of even like the talking birds, just the construct of it. What came first outside of the story, especially like in the characters that you created? Was it the monsters, the cult mythology, or the characters themselves? Like, was it building this entire storyline? Did Old Man Barrow and Ari come first, and then all of a sudden, this whole nuance of just like this abundance of monsters just comes out of nowhere, and this cult mythology just comes out of nowhere too.
I Man, when did True Detective come out? Did I just absorb that?
The first one,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I think you might be onto something. Maybe like 2018.
Yeah, because truly, I don't know. I mean, I know Barrow was the first thing,
Okay,
and this is going to show my like fantasy dork, but and it's also going to age the book considerably. But the reason Kevin and I met is that he had posted on DeviantArt, which
okay,
tells you how long ago this was,
yeah,
um, fan art of one of my favorite series called Fafford and the Grey Mouser.
okay,
It's like an old pulp fantasy in the same vein as Conan, but it's like way funnier to me. Fritz Leiber is the author, and it's same deal. It's like a barbarian and a rogue, and they're like sort of goofy fantasy adventures. And that was a big inspiration. Like that's my bucket list. If I could touch two characters, it's Fafford and Grey Mouser. But like it's an oddball thing that not a ton of people, Conan makes the big money. Fafford and Grey Mouse, and maybe not so much these days. But I think that stuff is sick because I think fantasy is funny and it should be like fun and weird. But yeah, Barrow was the first thing,
yeah,
just because we had this idea of like grumpy, nearing retirement monster hunter on his last job, which is
yeah.
like well-worn territory, but we just wanted to play with it.
Hmm.
Um, and we actually like our first image that we thought of was, wouldn't it be cool for him to like coagulate the blood of a blood demon? So that's where like the snake comes in. The last image in that book is the first thing that Kevin and I thought of, is turning a big monster into jello. And again, like it was supposed to be a throwaway one shot where we were like, this old man knows his stuff. He gets rattlesnake poison. He turns a monster into jello. We have a good laugh and move on.
Right, right.
and
It's like
that was it.
it's like throwing the kitchen sink at a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think when Ari came about, the story started to kind of shape itself once we decided like what the opposite of Barrow looks like.
Hmm.
Then we were able to say like, oh, like the friction's fun, and how do we lean into that, and how do we like play off both of their strengths? Like Ari has this mysteriously has all this like occult knowledge and knows how to actually deal with the thing, but
Yeah,
like if you've ever met an old man who's been doing a thing for a very long time, he's convinced
set
he
in their
knows how to
ways.
do the thing. And he like saves her skin a couple of times, but that's a mutually beneficial relationship, even if neither of them will ever admit that.
Yeah, for
It's just
sure.
fun to like make characters go through the worst possible day together, I think.
Nah, I would definitely think so. I think the story often questions Old Man Barrow's brute force to all these complex problems, and the whole bit is kind of like, is this intentional? Like because Ari's like, look, the way that you're going about things, it's rather harsh. It might be a little forward, a little bit more direct than I would go about things, and it's always like that constant checking that's happening between the two. That's why I think like the dynamic between them two in the story is kind of like just definitely what sets it off. That's why that buddy cop storyline kind of like helps in that aspect. It's the Nick Nolte Eddie Murphy thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like, I really think that's it. Like, you boil it down, it's a story that moves really quickly.
Yeah.
Like, all of it. I mean, even despite the fact that it's three issues, just like from a plot perspective, it moves, you know? Like,
Hmm.
it's action, action, action. And I think, like, one of my favorite things about it is you can see a big difference between even issue one and two, just how much Kevin and I figured out what we were doing.
Hmm.
And it's cool, especially seeing like 6 years after the book came out, like Kevin and I talking through this and like reminiscing. And like there are a couple dialogue tweaks and things in the new edition. Just like we went back and cleaned it up a little bit, just because like, we're better at this now,
Yep.
like we've got a little more experience under our belts. So yeah, it's just really a cool opportunity to revisit, especially your first like thing that ever got traction, and like tidy it up and just make it feel a little fresh.
For sure. Like even I'm guessing how everything basically came together all the way into issue three, like how you were able to balance like the comedy and the comedy, horror, and the fantasy between the first two issues, but you weren't losing your emotional core that you were going to give us in that third issue.
Yeah, I don't think we found the emotional core until the second one.
Right. It like
That's the
you saw
truth
it
of it.
start to come together.
Yeah.
It's like okay, this world, like first issue was like this world is crazy.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden like okay, this makes sense. All of it does. Now what does your writing process look like when you're scripting like these comics between like the dialogue between Old Man Barrow and Ari?
So first and foremost, like I outline like crazy.
Okay.
um, and like maybe that is the librarian in me that I'm not joking. I keep spreadsheets for every issue I write where I
Okay.
like break everything down. And then I break it down further, and then I lump scenes and all that good stuff. And I think about how much real estate I want different things to take up. But before I get there, Kevin and I bounce so much stuff back and forth so organically. And like that's one of the beautiful things about independent comics is you can do that. You have the control to do that.
For sure.
Um, Kevin and I really like the the process of creating Grakiel, the demon in the book,
Hmm.
was just like if I could print out that text message exchange and frame it, I would because it's like the funniest. Like, wouldn't it be gross if we did this? Wouldn't it be grosser if we did this? And just
Hmm.
like ramping that up, especially for that, what happens in issue three when we like reintroduce this character,
Hmm.
it's gnarly. And like, I wrote the thing and I think it's gnarly. So I remember when he sent me his like the final sketch that we used for like that big reveal
Hmm.
page was just like, I hate it. I hate looking at this. It's gross. So let's
Oh,
do
okay.
it. I mean, I hate it in the best possible
Right,
way.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
like
like, it's hard to look at. It's just like, oh, I
it.
feel like I shouldn't be looking at it. So that's the one we're using.
Got you. Got it. Now, and like as far as like the character designs that basically Kevin was able to basically like put out there, you kind of saw. I mean, for the most part, first two issues, you kind of saw that coming. So it was
Yeah.
kind of like let's just go completely balls to the wall for
Yep.
for the reveal, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, it was like, damn, okay,
Yeah.
okay, this could
Yeah.
work because this is like when you hit that page turn, it's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's like, again, we play a lot of it for comedy, and that's the one that is like actually pretty grotesque to look at, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, beyond that, like I outlined so heavily that scripting moves a whole lot quicker for me.
Hmm.
Um, and I tend to write dialogue sort of separately, like by hand in a book, and just sort of like flesh out that way,
Yeah.
and then I'll retrofit it to the scene. Man, I've got a spreadsheet, I've got a journal, and then I've got the actual script. And I just sort of
Oh
like
man.
mash them together until it works. Um, but yeah, and then again, like I do a pass after I see what Kevin thumbnails because sometimes he'll really his style is so exaggerated,
Yeah.
and sometimes he'll like really lean into a thing that I didn't think to lean into. Like a lot of the jokes come about that way, honestly.
Hmm.
Like one of my favorite dumb little panels, the only time you see Barrow smile in the entire book is when he buys a lizard on a stick from
Yes.
a street vendor. And like I didn't write that Barrow smiles there, I don't think. I think like that was it. And I was like, now we have to turn this into a whole sequence
Right.
because it was just so good when I saw what Kevin did with it. And like that's the he and I truly like mind meld around this book. It is a great working relationship.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean that's it. Sometimes I'm smart enough to think of one ahead of time,
Yeah.
but a lot of the times, like Kevin does the heavy lifting, and it's just so natural when you look at this. Like his style is so well suited for this like goofy, over the top stuff. I
Hmm.
think no matter the genre, so everybody should hire Kevin to draw their books.
Definitely.
uh,
Now, what scene in Grit would you say out of the three issues that you're most proud of?
I love. There's an exchange where Ari says that um, some asshole told me there was a guy chopping up bodies, and then the next
Yep.
panel is a bird telling her exactly that.
Some ass.
And yeah, some asshole. Her exact word is a little birdie told me, and then a little birdie literally tells her.
Mm,
And then also one of those great jokes is that when it cuts back to Ari, and again, not in the script, just Kevin being a funny dude.
mm.
Ari's like puckering her fist like an asshole. And it's like such a good series of three panels because every panel hits a
Right.
different joke. And I think somehow in this book, that's what I'm most proud of.
No, because the thing is, I guess with a lot of fantasy tales, like everything's so damn serious.
Yeah.
So like with Grit, like it's like okay, even though this the majority of everything that's supposed to happen is extremely serious, but
Yeah.
they still they take these like loose cannon approaches towards the way that they talk to each other. And the thing is like Ari's like not a saint herself. You know,
Hmm.
so like when we're talking about like that particular scene of her just doing this and shit,
Yeah.
like the entire that's like the one of the best things about it. Like
Yeah.
how that basically comes about. Now, outside of the birds, Ari, and Old Man Barrow, is there any other characters that deserve more attention from the readers that you think?
Yeah. I'm going to rewind for 1 second and shout out Simon Gough, the colorist on the book,
Okay.
because in that scene as well, he does one of my favorite things, which is for the flashback panel for the bird, he switches to a watercolor style.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a weird choice, but
It's
again,
like a
just
dream
like,
sequence, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It for like one panel, he swaps to that just for this dumb bird joke, and like, bless his heart for making everything look so cool all the time.
Right.
But yeah, so my other favorite character is Sir Andre Lapointe,
Mm-hmm.
who is this like drunk, I guess drunk. He wants to be drunk, like undead knight that Barrow meets in one of the back matter short stories.
Mm-hmm.
The artist on that is Simon Kirks, who is incredible. He's an absolute monster, and I hope he does more comics sooner rather than later. Um, but yeah, that was just one of those like, the more Kevin and I talked, the more characters we came up with and expanded this world in all these weird ways. And again, that's one of those things where a throwaway joke earlier in the book
Yeah.
came back as a short because at the end of issue one, somebody's like giving the bartender a hard time about something with Barrow. And they're like, oh, that's not what you were saying when that zombie was in your basement. And then we're like, well, we got to do the zombie in the basement now.
Right.
So we did that. And I think it's also like, that's one of my favorite bits of the whole book because it shows this like heart of gold
Yeah.
that Barrow has, which is contrary to him like chopping goblin heads in half. But it's kind of the Gran Torino of it all, actually. You're right. Like it is this like taking care of his community, even if he's really like
Yep.
bristly about it. But yeah, it just like opens with Barrow sharing a drink, like essentially exchanging old war stories with this zombie
Yeah.
knight chilling in a wine cellar. I just think he's such a charming character. Like Simon Kirks and I talked a lot about like trying to expand his story. And we actually have another short that we'll probably self-publish someday,
Mm-hmm.
uh, called "The Ballad of the Bloom Knight," which like explains how he became this undying thing. Yeah, someday you'll see that because
Yeah.
we've like got art sitting around for it. But
Yeah. It's
yeah, I love Andre.
Yeah, it's almost as if, and it's funny because I never thought of this until you like actually started bringing it up. Like every time that there's like somewhat of like these like real cockamamie jokes and everything that are pretty much happening, there's almost this Seth MacFarlane thing happening where it cuts to the Family Guy thing of how the
Yeah,
joke started.
right.
So,
I've not considered that, but you're right.
now,
Yeah, and comics lets you do that.
yeah,
So,
and especially within a fantasy
uh,
storyline that's supposed to, that could be extremely serious. I just feel like
yeah,
that brings out the best of the book as well.
yeah,
Now, with this being the first one volume, all three issues, that's basically going to get re-released through Mad Cave. The extension of this, like
mhm,
obviously, you and Kev would love to do more of this. Are
yeah.
there stories within the Grit universe that could use a little bit more continuation? That we're going to see outside of Volume One, basically what you just talked about, that you still haven't had a chance to tell.
Yeah, I will say take it up with Mad Cave. We would love to do a volume two. Um, Kevin and I wrote, frankly, it's an aggressively anti-ice second volume to this book,
Okay.
about the literal witch hunts that take place after the events of the first book.
Yeah.
You know, Ari causes some problems, and we like took kind of a hard turn into dealing with the like political ramifications of
Yeah.
that, which is like maybe not what you would expect from a volume two of Grit. Um, but I think it goes really interesting places, and we'd love to make it someday. Kevin and I have all kinds of scripts for like shorter, like I really like that 3 or 4 page format that we did for the back matter.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of those. Kevin did one about Barrow sort of like becoming a drunk in the wake of Volume One, not knowing what to do with himself, and it kind of plays him as the monster, where like kids are afraid of him, like finding him on the street passed out. So we had some fun with that. One of the dumbest things that Kevin and I have done is we wrote a script for Grit 2099.
Did you?
Yeah, why not? And like Ari is this sort of like cybernetic, it's like a very cyberpunk. She's got all these augmentations.
Like a alternate universe Grit.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin and I just have so much fun throwing ideas around.
Okay.
I'll send you the concept art for that. It's sick.
Has to be.
We had Goblin, which was like, G0BL1N was this like AI conglomerate of tiny robots and
Oh my
stuff. It was
god.
really wild. Um, yeah, man. I'll send you some good stuff.
I appreciate that. Now, what do you hope that readers take away from after finishing Grit Volume One?
I I think it's a book that it's easy to sell it based on the gore and like the excessive violence and the chaos of it all. But I think there's like this big goofy heart, that I think really flourishes in issues 2 and 3, where it's just this like you get this really quiet awakening in Barrow, and I
Mm-hmm.
think especially in the final pages of the book, like we did a lot with a little bit of real estate. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's not a long book. The main story is like a sub 70 pages, but there's like I think it's interesting to see the beginning of an arc. Like you see a light bulb for him at a certain point in the book, and
Yeah.
it's interesting to like sit with that, having just seen all this like absolute chaos,
Yeah.
where like the book moves so fast, and then in the last couple of pages we just like hammer on the brakes in a way that I think a lot of people didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I hope people just like resonate with that sort of quiet.
Yeah, for sure. Now, also, this is I guess this is an opportunity for you to check the interview. Is there any questions that you wish interviewers would ask about Grit?
Man, interesting. I think I've been really lucky that people see what we're trying to do. Again, it's so interesting to talk about a book I made 6 years ago because there's so much
Right.
I would do differently. And Kevin too. Like we've talked so much. Like if we could just like remaster this thing, like but in a different way, I think it's really interesting talking about it now because so rarely do you get a chance to like dig into work that you did that long ago.
Yeah,
And I'm just as happy to talk about the stuff that I don't feel as good about. Like I think issue one feels like a pilot.
it
Like
does.
it doesn't feel like a part of the it feels like the introduction to the book and not like part of the book
Hmm.
in a weird way. And like I'm totally happy to say that now because I can reflect on like that's not how I would do it if I wrote it today.
Right, right.
um, I think it's cool to look at. I think that it really sets up the world, but like we don't really get the ball rolling on the story until
Two.
issue two.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it's so funny because everyone I talk to picks a different genre. Like to some people, it's a horror book. To some
Yeah.
people, it's a fantasy book. Like it,
It's a
I
comedy.
don't. It's a comedy. Like, and I think that's the most apt comparison I've seen someone make is probably like Sam Raimi's Army of Darkness,
Right. Which is
where
hilarious.
like, yeah, and I'm like, you know what? That's pretty close actually, and that's
Right.
kind of what we were going for. But yeah, I don't know. It's nice to just be thoughtful now about like critiquing my own stuff in a way that I can still be proud that it existed.
Yeah.
But like, man, I wouldn't have done that, or I would have paced this differently.
Right. Now, does being as how this is going to be a first volume and it's going to be given to us as a trade paperback, is there any like updates, improvements, extras compared to like just the previous releases that were given to us in 2020?
Yeah, so most of the tweaks to the content itself are like lettering changes.
Okay.
We like clarified a couple of things. We worked with Teddy Leo was our editor at Mad Cave, and he like 10 out of 10 great experience working with him. Been fantastic. Um, he made some really insightful tiny changes
Hmm.
to the script, and it's the kind of thing that makes me think like, wow, editors are magicians. Because there's just these little things that he changed and like that makes so much more sense. Like
Yeah.
I talked about how one of the images that stood out to Kevin and I was that like turning the monster into jello, but you had to intuit like why did he have this weird silent exchange with a rattlesnake? And I was like, yeah, one bit of dialogue there now explains what happened.
Right.
Like again, 2018 Brian who wrote that script wasn't thinking about that and didn't have a hands-on editor who caught it.
Yep.
And then like little stuff in the third issue, Teddy just like really helped clean that up. But as far as back matter, we like packed it with concept art.
Ah, okay.
So there's a lot of that stuff. There's a cover gallery for back when we had the single issue releases,
Hmm.
and there's so much cool stuff in there. I'm like perplexed that I got to work with so many cool people. I think I was just like getting into comics at a time when a lot of hyper talented people were also getting into comics. Um, yeah, there's so many cool ones. Artyom Trakanov did our first variant cover, so
Hmm.
that was sick. Goran Gligovic did one, which is incredible, and he's like one of the coolest fantasy artists in the world now, to my mind. But I also just got to like bring a lot of my friends along.
Hmm.
At that time, I was pitching a bunch of stuff, or like just before Grit, I was pitching stuff with Tayshawn Dwyer, who like self-published Desert Messiah, and I got him to do a variant cover. And then Toplin did one, just like
Hmm.
who's now done I Hate This Place with Image, and like I don't know, it was just cool to get to work with so many people who were also like just jumping into comics at
Yeah.
that time. So yeah, there's like a really cool covers gallery with all that stuff, and probably a bunch that I'm forgetting because there were a zillion covers. But yeah, Kevin like went back through all of his original concept sketches and scanned that stuff and put that on the back of the book.
That's
And
amazing.
also, like all the design stuff is new, and Mad Cave did a killer job with that. One of the things I'm most excited for people to see is the way they did the chapter breaks because they're disgusting. um, yeah, they like contorted parts of the body horror sequences of the book into the chapter breaks for the new volume,
Right.
and it is gnarly looking.
Now, you being a public librarian, has that experience influence the kind of stories that you tell?
Oh man, I'm not stoked that my like coworkers see a goblin butt on the first page of my book. There's that. But no, I'm actually like I'm really diligent about keeping my worlds separate.
Okay, got you.
Except that sometimes I can like advocate for, if we're doing a program where it makes sense to have a writer, like I can float names.
Yeah,
You just had Jordan one recently who's
I did.
local. Yeah, Jordan's doing some stuff with us. He's a delight. But yeah, I mean, if anything, so this is actually like how I got back into comics. I liked them as a kid. I fell out in my like teenage years, and then in college, I discovered public libraries are sick. And I
Yeah.
read 1,000 graphic novels for free, and like that's how I got back into comics as an adult.
Mm.
So if anything, it's just like broadened my horizons to like the cool world of indie comics in the early 2000s when I was like digging back in.
Right, right. Now, would you say people don't understand that there's like a treasure trove of graphic novels that are just inside of public libraries?
Yeah, people don't understand anything about public libraries. They're incredible. Like it is such an insane resource for every conceivable part of your life. Like
Mhm.
it's truly like a life-changing profession for people, and I always feel sort of like preaching about it when I talk about this, but like I've
Yeah,
dedicated my life to it. This is so much of who I am as a person. Yeah, man, check out your public library if you need your passport or you just want to read some stuff or like, I don't know, you want to see a bunch of ghost hunters talk about their process. Like
yeah.
you name it, we're doing it. I had a Highland cow at a program that I hosted the other day and a llama. That was incredible. Yeah, libraries are awesome.
That's amazing. Now, what are you reading right now? Like as far as like what has inspired you recently
Man,
upon a release the re-release of now Grit coming out in
yeah,
July.
it's actually, this isn't a bad like comparison. They released a new edition of a novel called Between Two Fires by Chris Buehlman.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a horror novelist. And it's a horror fantasy set during the Black Plague,
Mm,
and
okay.
it's incredible. It's like got these deeply messed up religious themes in it.
Right.
And a good friend of mine discovered it and wanted to read it. And I read it when it came out like 10 years ago, but it was like, oh, there's a new edition and it's got black sprayed edges. So I want it on my bookshelf. So I bought a copy of the new one and I've been reading that with him. And that's been incredible. What have I been reading in comics? Let's see. In superhero world, Absolute Wonder Woman kicks ass.
Okay.
I think that
Got you.
book's incredible. What indie stuff have I been reading? Man, I don't have my books next to me. I have a lot of books next to me, but not the comics I'm reading.
Yeah. No, Kelly Thompson's doing a phenomenal job on that book.
Yeah,
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 and to be honest, that alternate universe thing, you kind of course, now that you've told me about this whole cyberpunk
yeah,
version of Grit, now I'm highly interested.
yeah,
Re-imaging is not a problem
yeah.
for sure. Now,
Um,
also as well, where can now what are we looking forward to you in the future? Obviously, Grit is has been your baby now for 6 years, but are you
yeah,
working on some other things that maybe we don't know about?
yeah. I'm working on one thing that some people know about. I signed the contract today on my next book, so that's exciting. I've been working on another fantasy book with Dylan Snook,
Hmm.
and maybe that's the reason Absolute Wonder Woman is fresh in my head. He just announced that he's taking over like a fill-in on that.
Mm,
Uh, but yeah, we've been working on another fantasy thing. If you follow either of us on Blue Sky or whatever, we've been sharing art forever quietly.
yeah.
We've been working on this book for like, I don't know, man, 3 or 4 years. And it's been like in and out of contracts with different publishers because the industry is a little dirty right now. But yeah, we landed somewhere that we feel really good. We're really excited to get that out like early next year. So hopefully I can talk
Okay.
about it really soon.
Excellent.
But if you've seen like a gnarly blonde witch woman and a giant knight with spikes on her shoulders, that's my book with Dylan.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
Brian, this was amazing. I appreciate you doing this with me.
for sure.
Obviously, with the first volume that's going to be released in July, I do the late July, early July,
Late July.
late July. So
Yeah.
right now, FOC is available for everybody. FOC is when,
Oh boy. FOC is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks sounds right. Like late June.
and how many pages between all three issues? You're talking about maybe around like what,
Oh
70
boy.
pages, 67 to 70 pages.
With those shorts, you're getting like 70 to 80 pages.
Yes, see, look, man,
Yeah.
like not a lot of people. You're not even going to get like the hard introduction to the pilot, but you're just basically getting the entire 3 issue story
Yeah.
that you released 6 years ago. And
Yeah.
to be honest, for a lot of us like myself who had a chance to read the book that long ago, we would love to see more of the universe basically being brought to life. So that is a plus, but I appreciate you doing this with me. This is amazing.
Been my pleasure, man.
Absolutely. So for everybody here at the Facts Project, Brian Wickman for Grit Volume 1 that's going to be released through Mad Cave Studios in July. Obviously, just like you said, FOC is in 2 weeks. So pre-orders are a big thing around here. Obviously, for everybody getting those into those local comic book shops out there, especially in his Baltimore area, and in libraries.
Yeah,
When
man.
these full graphic volumes are a thing, they just like you said, they end up in these libraries for everybody to look at for free. So get your library card.
Yeah, do
That's
it.
just do that as well. And so for everybody here at the Facts Project, we will see you guys next time. We are out.